For those that aren't familiar with the area, you're surrounded by 3 schools. So we have Piney Branch Elementary School, Takoma Park Elementary, as well as Takoma Park Middle School. And this resource in our community has been vital to providing that safe space for so many children that not only go to the surrounding schools, but also live along the Maple Avenue corridor. So this project could not be what it is today and actually have beams if it weren't for the various stakeholders that are here today. We were able to fund this project through multiple sources and pictures. But not only was it a loan that the residents in the city of Takoma Park supported, but it was also various bond bills that you'll hear from our District 20 delegation that helped to champion in Annapolis, as well as cable grants and other grant funds that we've leveraged, such as our ARPA dollars to support this renovation. But one of the things I do like to stress is that every dollar multiplies in the life-lasting opportunities that so many children in our community will have access to once this renovation is done. So what we have happening here is not only expanded space for our library and more meeting spaces for children, but it's also LEED Gold certified to reflect the sustainability development goals of our community. It not only will provide computer center, new meeting spaces, recreation department, offices. But also, one of the things that I do think is really important is we're on a floodplain, and this provides an added level of stormwater management in terms of the work that we're doing here. The library has a roof, which is amazing. I mean, I think the biggest thing is to really see the library project, which has been something that has been a source of debate and championship amongst members of our community, to actually start to take shape and take form, not only because we've worked so tirelessly in trying to obtain the resources, the thinking through the construction design and the different aspects of the building that we want to make sure represents our community, but also because it allows for us now to really see the vision, right? And to see the vision come to life. So I'm super excited about the opportunity to be serving as mayor during this time, but even more appreciative of all of my predecessors and all of the folks that have been championing this project for the last 10 to 12 years. So it's really wonderful to see it take shape.
Yeah, I'm very excited to be here to represent Congressman Jamie Raskin, who could not be here, but he extends his greetings to you people. You know, he's just next door from here. This project means so much to him. So, so I'm very happy to be here, and he sent a congressional recognition in honoring this project, the roofing. So I will read it and present it to the mayor. That's all what I came here to do. So, Certificate of Special Congressional Recognition presented to City of Takoma Park residents in recognition of your topping off ceremony for the new library. Congratulations and best wishes. Signed, Congressman Jamie Raskin of 8th Congressional District, May 21st, 2024.
We talked about the ideation of the library beginning back in 2012 with a neighborhood survey, but we actually didn't get the bond dollars until 2017. And my predecessor, now Vice President of the County Council, Stewart, worked tremendously to get us through the process of not only securing our initial funding, but also shepherding the council and the city through the various aspects of library design.
Honestly, I cannot believe we are here today to celebrate this milestone. And I think the sirens behind me are very appropriate because this has been a project that has been many years in the working. And I first do want to do a couple of shout outs and thank you. Thank you to the current City Council for all your work and moving forward. Thank you to the prior city councils. I see my colleague, former colleague, Councilmember Kovar, who is here, who I will say did give me a heart attack at one time when we were moving forward to this project and said, wait a minute, I think it can be bigger. And he was right. And we have the project today because he said, let's pause and let's think about this. As Mayor Searcy said, we have to thank the incredible staff here at the city in Takoma Park. There is no better. Congratulations. As I was getting ready for today, I was going back and looking at the different materials we put together for going to Annapolis that very first time, actually when Sheila Hickson was representing us, and I pulled out the old handout. Jesse, you'll remember, and Irma, that we put together with the pictures of the library. And then we had the Friends of the Library who worked on this throughout the whole process. And Luke Meyer and the construction workers. And I do want to do another shout out, as Mayor Searcy did, to the construction workers. Thank you so much. I get to drive by here every morning on my commute and see your progress. And I got to tell you, in my district right now in the county council, we have a lot of construction going on, a little thing called the Purple Line and whatever. And I have to deal a lot with construction in my district. And I can say, you all are amazing. Thank you for your diligence, your hard work, and how you're keeping this site. And, you know, thank you to our state delegation who will be up here in a moment, because without their support, none of this ever would have gotten off the ground. And I have to say that, you know, we're talking about a building, but this project has always been much more than about a building or a structure. It's about what happens inside. And I know our current librarian, Jessica Jones, is keeping it going on New Hampshire Avenue, and we're so thrilled that all the work she's doing and the librarians there. But when we come back home here to this structure, it's really about the people inside in our community. To the littlest of our residents who come here for circle time, hearing all the different languages, Spanish, French, Amharic, and the international language of children's laughter. That's what's here. When we think about some of our older residents who come, read the newspaper in multiple languages, it's about community. It's about coming and sharing an experience here, but also connecting to the places that they left to come call this home. And it's about our young adults and our teens who are here. And I'm going to say, I know firsthand from my own kids who are now in their early 20s that this library, for them and their friends, was a refuge. As we said, we're right within walking distance of 3 libraries and our amazing rec center. And for so many young people, this library is a place to come, a place to quietly do homework, or not so quietly, and bug the librarians on things. I know my own son got into deep debates with the librarian on the value of a graphic novel and whether or not they should be in the children's section. I know for my son growing up, and when he had difficult times, finding refuge in the library and talking to the librarians and being able to do the book reviews on the index cards. And I'm going to tell you, my son is now getting his Master's of Fine Arts in Creative Writing at the University of Rutgers, and I'm going to owe that a lot to the experiences he had in this library with our librarians. And when we looked at this library and conceived it, I do want to do a shout out also to Councilmember DeBala, because you pushed us to make sure that this was a green, sustainable building. And I will say there were many nights where I was like, can't we just move on? But no, we did not. We persevered, and we made sure that this is going to be as green as it can be. And we are going to take care of the stormwater remediation. And it's just, it really means so much to me to have everyone here to thank again Mayor Searcy and all her leadership and moving this forward. And I just look forward to the next celebration we get to have here.
Well, if you're going to build it, you want to build it as efficiently as possible. It's true for your house if you're renovating. It's true for a library if you're renovating. So we changed the glass on the windows. We changed the way the heating system was set up. We looked at a number of other things to make it more energy efficient. To build it in while we were at it. And it isn't that much extra cost. It is more in the front end, but it pays off in the long run in lower bills.
So what I feel today is a lot of emotion because moving the library project forward has been many years in the making. And having the community come together and celebrate this milestone is so huge for all of us, and I'm really excited to be here. Our library is much more than the structure itself. It's about what goes on inside that library, and the library is situated by 3 of our schools. So school children would go there after school, do their homework. I know as a parent, sometimes I use the library as emergency daycare if I got stuck at work, and I know so many other people did in our community. For our teenagers, it's also, was a really great spot for them to go and find a safe place. And I know as we were developing the library and thinking about that, we really wanted to create a space for young people so they could go do projects together or just have a safe place to hang out. I'm really looking forward to the future when this opens because the library is such an anchor in our community. It serves our youngest residents, our toddlers and their caregivers, all the way up to some of our older residents who love to come to the library to read newspapers or check out books or go to one of our many, many events. And now we're going to have the space to hold these events and people won't be so crammed together and it's just going to be wonderful.
And I'm thrilled to be with you today. I also happen to be a 20-year resident of Takoma Park and a huge fan of libraries. So I'm here with Delegate David Moon, Senator Will Smith, and you'll be hearing from them in a moment. Delegate Janelle Wilkins is also a member of the District 20 team, and we are so proud and pleased to support this effort to bring state capital money to this project. And so I wanted to say a couple words about back in 2011 and 2012, I was not yet elected, but I remember the survey well. I was a community activist at the time, and I remember the survey well. And I wanted to take a minute today to really thank and acknowledge all of the current and former elected officials and also all of the community activists who kept this vision going. Sometimes, we have 2-year election cycles or 4-year election cycles, and people want things right this second, and I want to fix things right this second. But really incredible transformational projects take time, and this is a really good example of that. And so while the need was clear and the need was crucial in 2012 to hang on to it and to hang on to that vision through really tough times, through COVID, through budget challenges, through all of that, and to be at this place right now where we're about to really see that vision come to light with all of the things you've heard of so far, is a testament to all of the elected officials, but also the community activists for which Takoma Park is so famous. So let's hear it for the community activists who kept us on track throughout this whole process. The second thing that I want to say is we've talked a lot about, I think I would just want to acknowledge how crucial libraries are, and we've heard, I won't repeat some of the pieces that our current and former mayor have already talked about, how crucial this library is for this community in particular. But I also want to talk about this issue that is fortunately getting some more attention, and that is the epidemic of loneliness. And if you're not following this, it's a really important set of research that's been highlighted by the current Surgeon General that highlights how loneliness and isolation, even before the pandemic and then heightened by the pandemic, is a crisis in our community. And it is tied not only, as one would expect, to mental health, but also to physical health. That in fact, heart disease and diabetes and all of these physical health outcomes are made worse when people are lonely and isolated from their communities. And when we look at this research and we look at these challenges and we're thinking about healthcare policy, we don't normally connect healthcare policy with libraries, but here's the connection. Healthcare policy and looking at health outcomes, a mental health policy and looking at mental health outcomes requires that we go back to looking at our community infrastructure, the physical infrastructure that supports our ability to make those interpersonal connections, to build the community infrastructure, the heart-to-heart, the person-to-person, that kind of infrastructure. And this library in Takoma Park has always been a really crucial piece of that community-to-community infrastructure. And so in all the ways that it's important for youth development, and all the ways that it's important for senior development, and all the ways that it's important for educational development and access to information, I'm going to contend that it is also important for healthcare. And so when we start to look at it that way, it makes the investments that we make into things like libraries all the more important. And so I'm proud to be part of the team that brought some of that investment to the city. I look forward to continuing to work with everyone here until this becomes a reality, and then building the other pieces of the structures that we need to continue to build community, to fight isolation and loneliness, to make those connections, and to have the healthiest and strongest connections and community we can possibly have here in Takoma Park and in District 20. Thank you so much for letting me celebrate with you.
Oh, I can't begin to talk about the importance of this library to the community. Seniors who come because they need a place to go, because they need advice about computers, children who are doing homework, teenagers who are doing research, people who are getting together to meet. I mean, it goes on. This is such a central place in our community, and I cannot wait to get in there and check out a book. Of course, there are the programs. That's what gets the people in the building. Book sales, library speakers, book clubs, the list goes on. The storytelling in 2 languages at least, maybe 3 now, all to bring people in and build that sense of community. Yes, yes, and music and tapes and books on, I'm dating myself, books on tape, books on audio, online books, a lot. I'm really excited.
When you're talking about capital projects, buildings essentially, and the long timeline from concept to reality that it takes, when it's done right and it's finally breaking ground, at this ceremony and ones like this, you will hopefully see a long succession of public officials who worked on this to make it happen. And so congratulations to the generations of city officials that are here that, of course, ushered this in, and now we are seeing it become a reality. So pat yourselves on the back and give yourselves a round of applause. You deserve it. And honestly, the state contribution that we're here to represent is really just a small piece of it. You obviously saw it come through in drips over the years, but we're really happy to have been able to do our part to make it a reality. I won't expound upon it, but as you know, libraries today are not just for books. They are community centers in various ways, and this team has tried to really focus on public amenities, capital funding for parks, libraries, and of course recreation centers, which we do also support. And having said that, libraries are still about books, so we are back in Annapolis, and this year we had to be on the floor stopping communities from banning books, and we will continue to do that to keep our libraries safe and inclusive places that are centers for our community. So again, pat yourselves on the back, and thank you for being here to celebrate.
This library is so important to residents in our community. It has been such a true asset for many years for the children in our community, for the adults in our community who look for that space to convene with their peers, to read, to enjoy and just fellowship with one another. And so in a time where we have now, where there's so many crazy things going on in the world, to have an opportunity to have a safe place to just fellowship and be one with the community is so critical right now.
First, I want to say congratulations and thank you to the mayor and the city council. You all have represented the nearly 18,000 residents of Takoma Park ably and inclusively, and you've been tremendous partners with us in Annapolis. So I want to say thank you. I also want to say thank you to the former mayor and our county council vice president, Kate Stewart, as well, and the rest of the District 20 team, Laura Chakudian, David Moon, and Janelle Wilkins, who couldn't be here today. I want to say that when I first ran for office, it was a Takoma Park City Council person that said, look, if you're lucky enough to get elected, the most valuable tool you'll have is the power and the tools to convene people. You can bring people from across the state, from across the country, more importantly, from across your community. You can bring them around a table and you can help them, and they can help you solve really complicated and tough problems. And I would add to that, if you are radically inclusive in that convening, you can really do some special things. And I say, look, if you're sitting around that table and you're looking at who isn't at the table, who should be at the table, who's been marginalized, who has been basically excluded from the entire process, and whether you run a city, whether you run a Fortune 500 company, or whether you run a nonprofit, it's your responsibility to go out and get those people, bring them into the process, and help you make sound and wise decisions. And that's exactly what the mayor and what several mayors have done, and what the several county councils and several city councils have done. A radically inclusive process that have brought you to where we are today. You're going to have a new senior center, new computer labs, a place to convene and talk quietly, to read, exchange ideas. It's going to be an epicenter for our city. And I'm just tremendously proud and honored to have played a very small role in getting us to where we are today. So I want to say thank you for your inclusivity. Thank you for partnering with us. And thank you for what we're about to do in the months ahead. And we look forward to partnering with you in the future. So thank you very much. It's going to be a great place for the community to convene. You're going to have services for seniors, services for students, and services for everyone to come, get a book, be able to access the internet, be able to come together and join together, have conversations, share ideas. It's going to be an epicenter of gathering for our communities. It's going to be a tremendous asset for us. Well, see, we've had trouble with access to not only books, but digital online learning tools. And libraries like this provide for a space, a safe, clean, inclusive space for students to come from around our city to learn and engage and thrive. And so it's a challenge that we've experienced all throughout the county, and here in Takoma Park is no different. What I'd like to see in the future is us to continue to build and invest in community centers and in libraries like this right here in Takoma Park, but I can't wait till that ribbon cutting to see the students come down and engage, and the families come down and utilize this facility as a place to think up the next great big idea, but also to accomplish their homework, to talk to their neighbors, but then to engage in that, like I said, that next great big idea. So it's going to be really great.
When I look at this, I was driving in, and the first thing I thought when I pulled in here, I was like, oh, this can't be it. This can't be it. And I'm like, this is it. I remember when we received the grant application from Jessica. Jessica, where are you? There you go. I was like, this is an important project in our community. One, because we recognize from our office our libraries as one of our essential community anchor institutions in our communities. It's one thing for a government to create projects and efforts for our communities, but it's another thing to have an organization or a partner in our communities to implement on that. And so this is a fundamental project. And so when I was pulling it, I said, you know what? This reminds me of something that President Barack Obama said. It's how do you make an impact in your community? From the ground up, and that's what we're doing here, right? With this library, we tend to forget that we have households and families in society today that lack the access to internet. Maybe it's the devices, maybe it's the affordability of the internet itself. And so having these community anchor institutions are important because we can implement on providing the digital skills necessary to utilize the internet to bring health care to that household, or financial stability to that household, or education to that household. Or maybe it's providing the devices, the loan devices for laptops, or the device for the computing center that's being built here. Or maybe it's the affordability aspect and creating those partnerships in our communities with our philanthropic organizations or nonprofits to help with affordability and digital skills. And so I want to say congratulations and thank you. I can't wait to be at the ribbon cutting when the doors open. But I also want to say that this is really a spur of the moment opportunity for the state, because this project here is really a reflection of what we can do as partnerships are created. We have $14 million coming from the federal government to implement on digital equity initiatives, and then another $267 million to implement on infrastructure and broadband access for our community institutions. And so what this is doing is going to show those federal partners that, hey, we're making an impact in our state. We're doing this for our communities. And so we need to traverse that funding that we have and create the most impact that we can by utilizing the partners that we have in our communities. And so our program manager for digital equity right here, Vishnu Priya, she's the spearhead of all of our digital equity initiatives. And so we look forward to working with more partners like yourselves, the city, the libraries, the community institutions. So thank you all, and congratulations, and thanks to everyone for this. I want the invite. We want the invite for that ribbon cutting. So we'll be here in, let's say, a year or 2 years, I think, year and a half. But thank you all. So our libraries are community anchor institutions. They're important and they're vital to give information and access to our communities. And so what our libraries are doing, and particularly this project, is it's expanding on its computer center, which means there's going to be more computers available to our communities for access to healthcare information, for access to job opportunities and employment opportunities, for access to education, for schooling, whether that's K through 12 or even higher education. So it allows these opportunities for economic impact within our communities, right? And then what's more important, and essentially as important, is the social commitment that it allows our community as well. We tend to forget that a lot of social interaction now happens online, right? The pandemic kind of showed us that with this space, that the internet provides social communication, social interaction. And so being able to have a computer center, being able to have digital access, is going to allow some of these families and some of these people to interact socially with others. Some of the challenges that we're seeing within our state is trust. I come from the Office of Statewide Broadband. We're a government entity, a government agency. And so we know that within our communities, in our most vulnerable communities, there's this trust factor between the government and the community itself. And so what we've seen and what we found out from our 4 to 5 years of existence and implementing programs is that we have what we like to call community champions. Those are our community anchor institutions, whether they're libraries, nonprofits, schools, and those are the ones that we're working with to implement programs and projects like what we're doing here. So that helps to alleviate some of that trust factor directly between the government and the communities. And then what we're looking forward to, what we're seeing moving forward within our office with the state is we're receiving funding coming from the federal government through IJA. That's through our BEAD, which is Broadband Equity Access and Deployment, as well as our Digital Equity Act. And so we're seeing funding traversing to our office from these two sources that we're going to be able to implement by expanding access speeds through our BEAD program with our community anchor institutions, as well as being able to provide funding opportunities to our nonprofits, our organizations within our communities, to really make an impact and implement on our digital equity plan.
We are super, super, super excited to really share the wonderful things that we anticipate happening at the library, to highlight all of the partnerships that we've had along the way, along the many years in which we've worked on this initiative. Now it's time for us to do what we have come here for, and that is to get ready to sign our beams. So with that, I'm going to call up our city staff to just direct all of us in terms of how to sign the beam.